Good morning, everyone. This is Larry Brown from the National Weather Service in Wakefield, and this will be your Thursday daily brief. Going through looking at things. Basically, I'm showing you a satellite from very far away just because the main satellites from NOAA are all down right now. So kind of surprising considering we actually need them today to look at the smoke, but that it is what it is. So this is modeled smoke aloft for what we're dealing with right now, Thursday, 11 a.m. here. You can see the really dense smoke is up in kind of the wildfires from the Canadian wildfires. They're over here in Western Ontario, and the flow aloft is pushing the smoke down to the southeast into the local area. What we're seeing mostly today, except on the eastern shore, is this smoke is mostly aloft. If you look at what the projection is through the rest of the day and then into tonight and then tomorrow, you can see it getting more significant as it comes way down and then slowly dissipates as we get into Saturday. Now, surface-based smoke, which is going to lead to lower visibilities that we are starting to see in some of the area, like at Salisbury right now in the Eastern Shore, we've got 2.5 miles in haze, while at Richmond, it's basically 7 miles visibility. So the more significant problems are, you can see it up here. But then if you look across the Great Lakes over into Michigan, Northern Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, you can see a lot of, some visibilities less than a mile, but pretty widespread 1 to 3 mile visibilities. And that's what we're thinking is going to happen as we go into tomorrow. So as we look at the surface base, this is a model surface based smoke visibilities. You can see it's kind of like impinging in Delaware towards the Maryland Eastern Shore right now. As we go through the day today, I don't think it's really going to get any farther down. It may actually improve slightly with just sort of that haze aloft and the obscured sun that we saw yesterday and continuing today. But as we go into tomorrow, this is overnight tonight. It's like 3 a.m. As we get into tomorrow morning, though, you can see this pretty widespread, significant visibility restrictions across most of our area, and then maybe even getting as far south down into the Virginia, North Carolina border tomorrow. So that's going to be our real concern. We already have air quality alerts in effect for today for the metro areas of, the Eastern Shore, the Metro Richmond and Metro Norfolk Hampton Roads, but we may have one that's just more widespread and more significant for tomorrow. This is going through tomorrow during the day, and then you can see it kind of as the flow kind of weakens aloft and maybe becomes more west southwest, we might start to dissipate it somewhat on Saturday. So, just getting back to our briefing here, you can see as far as precipitation chances, really very minimal, if any, chance today, Friday. On Saturday, especially if we dissipate that smoke, these showers and storms come in as a front starts to drop into the area. So we have better chances of rain increasing as we get to later Saturday and then Saturday night. And then again, Sunday, as this front kind of just stalls over the area and finally pushes south as we get into early next week, into Monday and Tuesday. So yeah, this is just another sort of just a still shot of the pictures. This is today for the smoke, and then here's tomorrow, as I kind of showed with that looping. So yeah, we probably have some pretty significant low visibilities and poor air quality. I would say it's certainly at least possible, if not likely, tomorrow. As far as severe storm chances, pretty minimal. Not really, no real rain chances. There's maybe a minimal chance across the eastern shore this evening, but it's like 15%. Then we get into Friday. Again, no severe weather is expected, but there is an outside chance of a few storms late in the day tomorrow into Friday evening. But then Saturday, as that front comes in late in the day, especially, and then into Saturday evening, is where we have a slight risk for isolated to scattered severe storms. Not looking at any tornadoes or really much hail chance, but it's looking like a good, any storms that do develop have a decent chance of producing locally damaging wind gusts. So as far as Saturday, as I said, the timing, the confidence is kind of, I would say, low to moderate in storm timing. Probably not much in the morning. It could develop as early as 2, 3 o'clock across, especially northern half of the area, but more likely it's probably going to be later in the afternoon through the evening, and then so areas down in the southeast probably not much chance until the very late afternoon or evening. Moderate, confidence in storm coverage, and but low confidence that they're going to be severe. It's just how much develops, and it could be localized, severe. As far as heavy rain, localized flooding is certainly possible, especially in urban areas, because the storms will not be moving particularly fast, and with the front stalling, you could get training storms too. So if it goes over any urban areas, some at least localized flash flooding will be possible. The timing 2 to 10 right now, but like I said, it's going to be kind of hit or miss, I think, until after about 4 or 5 o'clock. Now, Sunday, we do still have a lingering severe threat right now across, mainly across the southwest part of the area, south central Virginia, interior northeast North Carolina. And then right now, too far out to really say much chance for Monday and Tuesday. Most likely these wouldn't be severe, but there could still be some storms and showers and storms lingering, certainly Monday at least. Um, Looking at rainfall amounts, you can see we're kind of highlighting this is through Sunday morning, the generally highest amounts to the east of 95 and across Metro Richmond into the Eastern Shore. Now, as we get into, you can see the chances they kind of pretty low through Saturday morning, then they increase, then they kind of go away overnight, and then come back Sunday again. As far as looking at the rain on the right graphic here, looking at the rain for through into the middle of next week, you can see the heavier stuff in the southeast. That mostly will come probably Sunday into, and maybe again on Monday. So as far as the excessive rain outlooks, you can see for Saturday through Saturday night, it's the best chance, pretty much over the northeast part of the area, maybe northern neck, parts of the eastern shore, and then shifting a little bit more to the south and southeast for Sunday. Again, the slow moving front, very, very warm, very humid air mass. So, anything moving slow is going to put down some heavy rain. I already showed that. As far as heat index, the smoke is, if there's one good thing about the smoke, it is mitigating our heat to some extent. We would be hotter today. We would be looking at high temperatures probably around 100 today if it weren't for all this smoke aloft, which is going to keep us more like generally in the capped around the mid 90s or so. So you can see the heat threat, it's elevated, but it's not into the red. And then tomorrow, as that boundary comes down further south, it's going to be a little bit more onshore flow. And certainly with the surface smoke, we might not get out of the 80s in many areas. So not looking at any major heat threats. And Saturday, the smoke, as the flow aloft turns more to the southwest, the smoke should generally tends to retreat off to the north. So at least by afternoon, we do have a little bit more of a threat of heat. Saturday is probably going to be our hottest and most humid day. And then Sunday, Monday, nothing really significant. Here's just a look at the max temps and max heat index. You can see, again, Saturday you can see is the highest values. The temperatures may be no different than today on Saturday, but it'll be even more humid. So we're looking at, a decent chance for getting a 105 heat index across much of the area. And this is just looking at Saturday again, just closer for WEPO Global. You can see maybe approaching that 88 value for the more significant considerations. But it will depend on how much, if the smoke takes longer to dissipate on Saturday, we might not get quite as hot. But it's certainly possible of seeing 105 heat index and maybe some heat headlines across, especially southeast. Just looking at the tables here, just kind of, tomorrow's going to be a little cooler, Saturday's hot, and then pretty typical temperatures from any kind of humid, but typical temperatures beyond that. And the rain chances you can see kind of really ramp up as we get later in the day, Saturday, probably diminishing a little bit into Sunday morning and then redeveloping again on Sunday. Just quickly, marine, it's going to be quite pretty benign on the marine for the next, really through about midday Saturday. Then ahead of that front and then behind the front, the winds do pick up late Saturday into the evening, and then Saturday night we might have some small craft advisories for much of the area as we get into late Saturday into Sunday, but nothing until then. And then the max wave is kind of the same thing. The wave is kind of building up a little bit as we get into late Saturday and Sunday. Low risk of rips for the next couple of days. I suppose by Sunday, we don't go out that far yet, but we could see a moderate rip risk by Sunday. It's potential there. As far as the 6 to 10 day outlook, near to above normal chances for rainfall amounts, and which would be welcome if we get the above, and then pretty much near normal temperatures. The drought outlook, you can see, and the drought monitor, you can see we've had some heavier rain in these yellow areas, so they're the ones who've had the most. But then there's still pretty extreme drought, still D3 drought across Dorchester, Maryland, and the Northwest Piedmont and the Southern Piedmont here. So we certainly need a significant, a couple inches of rain isn't going to end the drought. So we're still in pretty much the same situation, other than maybe some help that we've had over the past 10 days or so in some of these yellow areas. There is still a 20% chance in the tropical outlook, looking at something developing as that front comes down over the weekend into next week. Sort of a lingering low pressure to the south of a dissipating front. Some kind of weak tropical development is possible into early next week. But we're still not really. There's really no significant threat to the local area at this point. It's likely that with that front too, it would stay to our south, as you can see this. So that's all I've got. If anyone has any questions, feel free to fire away. I guess one more thing I should say is that looking at those visibility restrictions, it's going to affect the marine area as well. So as we get into tomorrow, especially, there could be some marine headlines for smoke and reduced visibilities, something of that sort. So that's all I've got. If you have any questions, let me know.